do you make of Tony Burkes' backflip and his stance changing from February to July?
Well, his remarks in the last couple of days have been fairly inscrutable and difficult to understand, because he's referred to the Creative Australia report, which, according to Tony Burke, justifies this reversal and speaks about a new body of evidence coming to light that shows that this work wasn't intended to glorify terrorism. But when you actually read through the report, it doesn't say anything of the sort. It talks about processes and the need to do things a little bit better and so forth. But in terms of the art itself and how it's interpreted and whether it accords with Australian values and whether he should have been nominated in the first place to represent Australia, it doesn't say anything about that. So the fact that he's now been given this lavish apology, reinstated, it's a great victory not only to the artist himself, who appears to be of dubious character and integrity given the nature of his works, but also to people that revel in this sort of thing, that believe that the arts should be going more and more in a particular ideological direction. And I think it's a blight on our Australian culture. And to have this individual representing us abroad, I think it sells us short. We have so many wonderful, talented artists who I think are far more deserving of the opportunity than someone who has these sorts of, veiled views towards terrorist leaders and terrorist atrocities.
Yeah, and we've also learnt from the Home Affairs Minister that rapper Kanye West's visa to Australia has been cancelled following the release of his song Heil Hitler. Look, I mean, I don't like Kanye West. I think his views are absolutely abhorrent, but I just can't help, Alex, but question the timing in this. You've got a changed decision of this artist, and suddenly Tony Burke's talking about Kanye West, who's got no intention of visiting Australia anytime soon and has no tours planned, no music plan here. What do you make of the timing?
Well, it certainly looks like a heck of a coincidence. The fact that the announcements coincided so closely in time, the fact that the same minister is responsible for the arts and also for immigration and home affairs, it's curious. But I think we need to look at each issue on its merits. With Kanye West, I think for a long period of time, he did immense harm to the Jewish community. And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing around the world in terms of the outpouring of propaganda, the demonization of Jews, particularly in the music industry, as we just saw at Glastonbury, I think it can be very closely connected to what Kanye West started a little while ago. Back in May, after the murder of 2 Jewish people outside the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., he posted fairly cryptically on social media that he's now done with anti-Semitism and that he wants love towards everybody. He's going to have to do more than that, because I think he's so far degraded his own reputation and revealed his character to be so malignant and unstable through the things that he said and done. I think there need to be consequences. But again, Danica, I take your point. The fact that this was twinned effectively with the Biennale announcement, there's something a little bit dubious about it.
Yeah, it's once again Labor walking both sides of the street on this issue, and that's just, it's something that we've seen time and time again from Labor since October 7, 2023. Before we let you go, Alex, Hamas is reportedly considering a 60-day Gaza ceasefire proposal, which President Donald Trump says Israel has backed. Hamas, we know, have been flip-flopping time and time again, can't be trusted. What do you think the likelihood of this going ahead is?
Look, they're a highly unpredictable actor. You know, their whole ideology is based on death. Their whole calculus of propaganda and political victory is based on more death and more suffering to keep the political pressure and the economic pressure and isolation on Israel. So they could fight until the bitter end, and that's clearly what they've been doing so far. They have no prospect of a military victory. But while we're all wearied by this war, we want it to come to a close, foremost for the fate of the hostages living and dead and their families who are suffering so acutely. It's got to end in the right way, and it has to end with not only the return of all of the hostages living and dead, but it has to end with the defeat and the final dismantlement of the infrastructure of Hamas. We can't return to a situation that existed on October 6th, where Hamas was embedded on Israel's southern border, using aid, plotting, digging tunnels, launching attacks through rockets and through ground infiltration. We can't go back to a situation where Israelis are endangered again and the wars revive a few years down the track. So much has been sacrificed. This war has to be the final war with Hamas.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Alex Ryvchin, thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening. Really appreciate it.